Hi ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to BritishBoxing.net and I'm John H. Tracy, former welterweight champion of the world and the only boxer in Britain to be inducted in the WBC Hall of Fame.
Welcome to BritishBoxing.net's first podcast. We've got a fantastic issue for you lined up this evening. We'll be speaking to Jim Wright on the big Glyn Rhodes promoted bill on Friday from Sheffield. We've got an interview with John Fewkes on his upcoming fight with John Murray. Then we'll be speaking to Terry Dooley on the big Steve Wood card in Blackpool. And finally we've got a huge interview with WBU middleweight champion and WBO #1 contender Gary the Rocket Lockett. So to talk about Friday's big bill from Sheffield promoted by Glyn Rhodes, we've got Jim Wright on the line. Jim, let me ask you first about Lee Edwards. How did he get on?
Well, he had a really good fight last night. He was fighting against the veteran Matt Scriven. Matt pushed Lee all the way. Lee boxed really sensibly. Boxed beautifully behind the jab, got the jab going. That was his main weapon. And I think Matt even acknowledged after the fight that Lee's got a pretty sharp jab.
Any highlights of the fight? Anyone in trouble at all?
The fight quickly got into a pattern where Scriven was trying to unsettle Edwards with the big shots, whereas Lee was just boxing sensibly behind the jab.
And it looks by his record that he might be a bit lacking in power, Lee Edwards. Only one stoppage in 8 fights so far. Yeah,
it could look that way just looking at his record, but he's on a very steep learning curve. He got stopped, I think, in his third fight. He got caught pretty cold and had a bit of a nightmare. So I think he's learned from that, and he boxes really well to instructions. And I think trying something different, adding new things to every fight. So you can really see that come through with Lee. Quite an exciting one for the future, I think.
And do you know what Glyn Rhodes has got in store for Lee Edwards in the future?
Lee's next fight on the 29th of March in the big bill in Nottingham. He's fighting Ingle fighter Tyan Booth. That should be really exciting because there's a fair bit of history between the two. A bit of needle as well because they fought twice in the amateurs, I believe. They both won one each. So meeting again in the programme is going to be a bit of a rubber match. And speaking to Lee last night, he was really up for the fight. Fantastic. You going to be there and bring us all the action? Certainly am, yeah. It's going to be a fantastic bill, that one. We've got obviously the main WBC eliminator call for that. We've also got John Fewkes and John Murray. That's real mouth-watering stuff all on ITV1 as well. Brilliant. And on to the second fight on the card then, a super middleweight fight between Jez Wilson and Jamie Ambler. That's right, that was a freakish fight to watch just for the height difference. And Jamie Ambler, at super middleweight, I think he's over 6'2". You know, we're talking Tommy Earns at welterweight appearances here. It was pretty amazing to see. And Jez was almost jumping up, just trying to get to his head. It was like banging away at his body for the first 3 rounds, and obviously Jamie seemed very concerned about Jez's reputation as a banger, and he climbed up and he was just on the ropes with his guard for the first 3 rounds. When he came out of his show for the last 3 rounds, he made quite a fight of it, so he threw the fight away really in the first 3 rounds. Of course, anyone who fights Jamie Ambler will probably need a step ladder. It's just amazing. I don't know how he makes the weight. It's just incredible. It's almost freakish to see him when he stripped down into his boxing trunks. Yeah, and I'll put in a little 2 cents worth about Jamie Ambler. I saw him fight against Rob Boardman in Bristol at the beginning of the month, and I thought he was 100% robbed there. He always puts up a good show, doesn't he, Jamie? He does. I think originally when he played I think it was his pro debut in Sheffield, he had an absolute nightmare, and I was talking to our sports editor, Ian McNeely, about that last night. We did the original report, and I think he got sparked in about 5 seconds, 15 seconds, including the count against... Oh dear. I think it was one of the Brooks lads from the Fight Academy stable. It must have not too fond members of Sheffield when he came in. I think it looked quite edgy, waiting for Jez Wilson to come into the ring. He did a good job. He got through to the finish. That's right. And it finished strong, and Jez acknowledged that after the fight. I think Jez realised, because of course Wilson had stopped his first 3 opponents. It's the first time he'd been with since he went 6 rounds. And I think he conceded after the first 2 or 3 rounds that he wasn't going to be able to stop him, which is quite an achievement for Jamie, because Jez is looking red hot at the moment, really is. So then on to the welters, John Wainwright, 20 years old from Sheffield. Yeah, it was John's second fight last night against the veteran Christian Lake journeyman. there was never really a stoppage in sight for this one, I don't think. He did well, John boxed really well, but really eager. He's got a few things he's got to work on when he gets back to the gym. He was leaving his chin hung out a bit while he was throwing his combinations. But he's boxing really nice behind, he was leading with a left hook to body, and for the first couple of rounds that was causing quite a few problems for the journeyman. But Christiansen has been there, seen it all before. He soon worked that out, and then after that it was just a good workout for Wainwright to the bell.
Lovely. And then the Super Feathers, Will Hale from Sheffield, and he was warming up against Carl Allen for his big shot against former British title challenger Scott Lawton.
That's right, it was a good fight this, it was really competitive. Dwayne and Carl have fought before a couple of years ago, I believe. It was quite different circumstances then, because I think Dwayne was unbeaten at the time, looking red hanging onto the coattails of John Fewkes, really. But since then, Dwayne's suffered a few losses, but he's been really competitively matched. He's fought some real tough guys like Gary Sykes and Yorkshire and people like that. But I mean, Carl, as most people in the game will know, his record's very deceiving. He looked really competitive and he's trying to launch off with his big left hooks. Caught Dwayne a couple of times, but Dwayne's, I think he's learned from his losses. Got his chin tucked in well. He's thrown some beautiful combinations. But the ref scored it pretty tight. I think it was scored at 58-57, which was a bit generous to Alan on my card, but it was a tight fight. It was a good fight.
Fantastic. And then on to Billy Boyle, light heavy, unbeaten in 6 with 3 inside.
That's right, Billy. What a crowd pleaser. Billy Boyle is a massive ticket seller in Sheffield. Ex-paratrooper, big Sheffield Wednesday fan. I think he shifted over 200 tickets again last night. But Billy came into the pro game quite late. I think it was about 31 minutes. I think he's either 31 or 32 now. But he had a tough fight last night, tough fight. And he showed he's got a heart to match his right hand, to be honest. He boxed really well behind the jab, letting the right hand go, but it was pushed all the way. It was 39-37 over 4 rounds. The ref scored it, but he really knew he'd been in a fight after.
I think everybody who's in a fight with Nick the Oxocker feels the same way, don't they?
Fantastic professional, so fit, and I think he kind of fancied the job as well. He looked really up for it, and his trading punches, had some fantastic exchanges. But Billy just had a bit too much for him, I think, and with the home advantage with the crowd rolling him on, Billy Boyle is going to take some stopping.
How far can he go then? Because he's over 30, isn't he, Billy Boyle, a late starter?
That's right, it's really tough to gauge how far he can go. He's really modest as well when you talk to him. He just says, I'm going to take each fight as it comes, and fight Ogren puts in front of him. I think he's seriously good enough to fight at Central Area Championship level. And who knows, you never know, he's a big puncher. I'd like to see him get back down to light heavy, because he fought at cruiserweight last night. I'd like to see him get back down to light heavy, because he can carry his power down there. I think he could upset a few people.
And then the upset of the night, Ross Birkinshaw lost in the second to one of Chris Aston's lads. Tell us all about it.
That's right, it was a nightmare for Ross. You had to feel really sorry for him. The fight looked fantastic fight to start off with. A real cracking toe-to-toe first round. Both scoring well, landing some big shots. Then about a minute into the second round, you could see straight away that Ross had suffered quite a serious shoulder injury. His arm was held limp horribly by his side, and the fight seemed to go on for an eternity after that. Opponent jumped in, tried to finish the job, but Ross tried to fight on, but it was clear straight away that he couldn't. After a few seconds, he spat his gun shield out sensibly, went back to the corner, let go and have a look at his shoulder, and the ref just waved it off. There's no way on earth that he could have carried it on.
And let's do the opponent credit here. One of Chris Aston's lads, a Syrian based in Huddersfield, Abdul. Go on, give it a shot.
It's a tough one. I'll go with Milk Ardell, I think it's slightly faster than I've just pronounced it.
There you go, that's a lovely Syrian accent you've got there, Jim. Well done.
Excellent. Yeah, it was. Actually, he was in the fight. I'm sure he was disappointed as well, because it was real toe-to-toe stuff, like I said. I bet he's quite disappointed, and I think it'll be an interesting rematch if he can get that on.
Lovely job. Thanks, Jim.
No problem.